Alright, so I got asked about the BBR tuning bike berry rim thing. How do you think about them and all that? Well, you get a lot of people that go, oh, they're trash. And actually, the bearings themselves, the bearing cups are pretty crappy that come in these. Usually they're not even greased, sadly. And you really got to make sure they're greased and stuff, so take them apart if you buy them. Grease the crap out of them if you're going to use the 9-balls. Check your cups. Some of them are pressed and they're fractured and they tend to crack, and that's where the review comes from a lot of the time, is the 9-ball failure. I mean, the other thing you got to realize too, well, cup failure with them. The other thing you got to realize with these is even though they're heavy gauge spokes and steel rims, and the hub's actually really not that bad. You're either going to want to replace those cups and grease your bearings. Find a donor wheel of a good quality, like at the flea market, that's not worn to death, like somebody had sitting in their garage for 20 years, like a lot of old people do. Find that bike and dissect some of the parts out of it. Now, here's the big thing, and I get asked a lot about it, how the heck I convert all my wheels. This one is converted if you look at it. Now, I did like that yellow bike up there. When I did it, I showed how I put the sealed bearings in them. Now, normally, you buy them online, for whatever reason, they all have this, and with the hollow shaft and all that crap, right? So, if you see the threaded part, that's a standard bicycle shaft, okay? This is the bearing size. It's slightly bigger. So if you were to put the bearings directly on this, it would be like, so we don't want that, right? So you want a solid shaft. Well, they don't sell them online. To find one of these that's actually the right size, what I do is I go to the flea market and I look for an old piece of crap bike or one that has lots and lots of wheels. And I look for something like this. Now this is an English 3/8 shaft. And people are like, okay. But you can't really buy them. I mean, you can find them here and there, eBay, really nice and stuff. You can buy the hardware for them still. But you can't find the shaft. So the 3/8 shaft fits perfectly in those bearings. And the bearings fit perfectly in the bearing cup. Alright, so there's a bearing here and a bearing here with a nut tight to it. In between that, if you don't put something for the insides of that bearing to rest on when you're tightening them down, it has to be really, really close, Well, the race is, if you were to push on it, the balls would eat into the race slowly until they pull together and the bearing gets destroyed. So this is kind of a side-to-side load bearing stopper, I guess you could call it, so that you're not pushing against the bearing side to side. They're only meant for up and down, left and right, rolling, not side to side. So that's why you got to put a spacer in there, and it's got to be pretty accurate between bearing to bearing. Got to be pretty accurate with that spacer between the 2 points where your bearings will turn to dust. So, and then the other thing is, I always get asked, why the hell do you stack nuts? That's stupid. Put the spacer. Honestly, I go for the first one, I tighten one until I get the spacing I needed. This one had a sprocket, spacer, disc brake. So that's why it's spaced that way. And then on this side, I just have the cut nut with another one up against it, tight. So, but yeah, I don't have any wheels with 9 balls in them anymore. I do the conversion every time, but for whatever reason, you're going to find the ones with the hollow shaft, and those are really bad for motorized bicycle builds, so don't do that. I mean, I guess if you're going to go maybe 20 miles an hour on it, which everyone seems to want to do some ridiculous speed that, you know, defies the law of physics, and it wouldn't suggest it, but casual rider, yeah, you could probably get away with that. If you're gonna go ridiculously fast, you want a hardened, solid one. Good old 3/8. Those old shafts, they never break. This shaft will keep taking abuse for years and years. It's made out of some pretty hard stuff from back in the day. Hardware is pretty easy. Finding the shaft itself is not. But yeah, ball bearing. I'll throw some videos up of how I did the other one. That way you can get an idea of what I'm using and the bearing size. But yeah, that's pretty much my thought on these. If you're gonna ride around casually like a normal person, get back and forth 20, 25 miles an hour, you'll go with it in the 9-balls. It'll be fine. You're going to want to change the cups out because usually they're garbage. Make sure they're greased. Just, you know, like everything, give it a good once-over. The other thing people complain about is they say, oh, these wobble. There's a spot that wobbles. Well, I hate to tell you, but every steel bike frame has a weld spot. And they did a really good job hiding this one, so give me 1 second. Oh. Alright. You see that little thing right here? Okay, that's where they welded it. You can barely even tell it on this one. They did a nice job hiding it. But there's always going to be a little hop there, and you can't go by that hop because they're not rim brake, for one, and two, every time where they weld them, there's always a little, so you gotta make sure you know where that is. Mark it when you're balancing it and truing it, and that way you can be like, oh, we know why it's like that, because you're really never gonna get it out, but you gotta go, you know, this much on each side of that weld point. And if you get that true, the thing's going to be beautiful. It's just, you know, a typical thing nowadays, so. I mean, here's that wheel. I mean, I'm retiring it even, but you see that slight hop? That's what people complain about. The little it's where the weld is. But this one's going to get completely rebuilt, new steel bearings in it, all that good stuff. And I'm going to put it to the side. But you know, I keep a couple wheels just in case. But what I'm saying is this. If you're going to build something retardedly stupid like this one, then you're going to want a really good freaking wheel on it. I mean, this one here is just a regular, you know, 26-inch bike wheel I built. It's an aluminum hub, sealed bearings in it. But this one back here, that's a Worksman wheel. You know, that's $500 freaking wheel. All stainless steel, double walled steel, 4 sets of sealed bearings. It's a belt drive, a lot of tension on it. It's got the full on, I think that's a 12mm freaking shaft in it even. You know, and then I got this bike, which was the Cruiser, and that has sealed bearings. If you notice, I got two 220mm brakes on these and stuff. You know, this one is not. I take this down trails, still sealed bearings in it. Works like a boss. I broke one shaft on a Minarelli that was an 8-ball or 9-ball. What was that? Something's wrong. Uh-oh. Fuck, I broke an axle. If we can focus on it, I hope it will. Let's see. Right there. Now, do you guys see that hairline crack? Right at where it bends? So, if you break an axle in one of these like that, just be aware. One shaft on a mini rally that was an 8-ball, or 9-ball, I'm sorry. But anyways, I'm getting Worksman wheels put on this, front and back. We're going to put pit bite brakes on it. You know, brakes are very important. That's another thing overlooked by a lot of you guys. Use these cheap ass freaking brakes and stuff. And some of them are decent. So, you know, the little hydraulic mechanical ones. I'm not knocking them like this one here. Absolutely killer. I've had no issues with it, you know. This one here I'm doing all hydraulics just because of what it is, you know. If you're going to buy one of these and you're sane and you want to do 20, 30 miles an hour, I mean, 9-balls are rated literally for 25 miles an hour and under. So, you know, just saying, it's a bicycle wheel. And when it's made from a place that makes this, what do you expect the quality is? Make sure they're greased, make sure they're set right, know what you're doing. And there you go. You'd be very happy with these, I think.